Hey, this is a very outdated reaction because I was streaming a lot and not uploading anything to YouTube. So keep in mind that my opinion might change already, or this topic is just not relevant anymore. Now on to the video. US President Trump meets New York City Mayor-elect Mamdani at the White House. Dude, this guy, Trump, there is not a single day going past where he kind of does something stupid. And maybe a day, but find a week in the last 2 years where he did nothing crazy. Be ready to laugh. I try to. 28 minutes.
Home who are struggling to afford life in the most expensive city in the United States of America. We spoke about rent, we spoke about groceries, we spoke about utilities, we spoke about the different ways in which people are being pushed out, and I appreciated the time with the president, I appreciated the conversation. I look forward to working together to deliver that affordability for New Yorkers.
Thank you very much. Any questions, please?
President Trump, Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I've got a question for you and then also one for Mayor-elect.
Sure.
I'm a little sorry. What did he say?
Affordability for New Yorkers.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm gonna put in subtitles here.
Any questions, please?
President Trump, Stephen Nelson from the New York Post. I've got a question for you and then also one for Mayor-elect.
Sure.
For you, you referred to Mr. Mamdani as a communist. Can you describe why you feel that way? And also, will you do anything to stop him from arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu if he visits New York?
Well, we didn't discuss.
Is this just an uncutted live interview with Trump? Or live press conference?
That's your second part of the question. And on your first part, I mean, he's got views that a little.
This is Trump standing with someone calling himself a democratic socialist. That's the democratic socialist. It's the guy who won the mayoral election in New York. Oh, this dude!
out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I changed a lot. From when I first came to office. It's now quite a while ago. It's quite a while. My first term was great. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We're doing.
Can you stop talking about being the greatest for 3 sentences? I can't hear it anymore. That's his catchphrase. Trump. It's great. If there ever is a Trump action figure with a button or something that says something, it's something about great.
Even better now. We're doing much better now than we did even the first term. And I can tell you some of my views have changed. And we had discussions on some things. I'm not going to discuss what they were, but that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he's going to be. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually, and some very liberal people. He won't surprise them because they already like him.
And Mr. Mamdani, it sounds like you had a productive discussion, but just days ago you referred to President Trump as a despot who betrayed the country. You said you would be his worst nightmare and accused him of having a fascist agenda. Are you planning to retract any of these remarks in order to improve your relationship?
I think both President Trump and I, we are very clear about our positions and our views, and what I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers. And frankly, that is something that could transform the lives of the 8.5 million people who are currently struggling under a cost of living crisis, with 1 in 4 living in poverty. And the meeting came back again and again to what it could look like to lift those New Yorkers out of struggle and start to deliver them a city that they could do more than just struggle to afford it, but actually start to live in it.
And I've been.
I hear that he's a politician. He talks I mean, that's a problem with all the politicians. They talk a lot with a minimum amount of information.
Called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting. Maybe I think he'll change his mind after we get to working together. Yes, please.
Mr. President, Matthew Mishkat from MTV Lebanon.
Good.
I would like to ask you a question about the Middle East regarding
Sure.
you said that Hezbollah in Lebanon is not in a good position. And Lebanon now is the final unresolved after Gaza and Syria. Given your assessment, like, what do you say for the Lebanese today? It's the independent state in Lebanon. And what is your next move to push toward disarmament the disarmament?
Sure. Well, we are pushing for total disarmament of Hamas and, frankly, everybody else. And we actually have peace in the Middle East. As you know, the King of Saudi Arabia just left yesterday. We had some great meetings, and he's made a contribution toward the United States of more than $1 trillion. We have now over $20 trillion coming in. No country has ever had anything like that, not even close. If you go to 2 trillion or 1 trillion, it's a lot. We have 20 or 21 trillion dollars. I think that Hezbollah has been a problem, and Lebanon, big problem. We're working with Lebanon. We're working with everybody in the Middle East. That's another thing I think we have in common. We want to see peace in the Middle East. And
Trump. The way you want peace in the Middle East is questionable.
everybody in the Middle East. That's another thing I think we have in common. We want to see peace in the Middle East. And we actually have now, for the first time, peace in the Middle East after 3,000 years. And now we're going to refine it. And I think you're going to see some very positive things happen.
There is a potential to invite the Lebanese president.
Oh, sure. Oh, I would do that. Absolutely. And if the mayor would like to be here for that meeting, because I know he feels very strongly. I think you feel very, very strongly about peace in the Middle East.
We desperately want it, and that's something that I shared with the president that when
He said a month ago that he wants to move the whole Palestinian population out of Palestine and make it tourist region like Mallorca. Well, I guess it would be very peaceful there then. Definitely. That's bringing peace, making it a tourist trap. Just in case you didn't know.
I spoke to New Yorkers who had voted for the president last November on Hillside Avenue and Fordham Road. I asked them why. I heard again and again two major reasons. One was that they wanted an end to forever wars. They wanted an end to the taxpayer dollars we had funding violations of human rights, and they wanted to address the cost of living crisis. And I appreciated the chance to discuss both of those things.
He said a lot of my voters actually voted for him, and I'm okay with that.
Of course. Of course Trump is completely okay with that. That's why he mentions it like so many times. Trump totally on a different train right now. This guy is so miserable. Trump, yeah.
I'll do that. I'll sign it. Give it to me. I'll sign it in a minute. That's pretty good.
Mr. President,
Yeah, please.
you threatened to send federal troops to New York City. You both have differences when it comes to ICE agents.
True, didn't Trump say something about the city will fall, New York will fall or something with him?
Right.
In New York City, Mr. Mamdani, you called ICE a rogue government entity. I wonder how you reconcile your differences on both of those issues.
Well, I think we're going to work them out, and I think that if we have known murderers and known drug dealers and some very bad people, we want to get them out. And the mayor wants to have peace. We discussed this at great length, actually, maybe more than anything else. He wants to have a safe New York. Ultimately, a safe New York is going to be a great New York. If it's not safe, no matter how well we do with pricing and with anything else, we can talk about anything you want. If you don't have safe streets, it's not going to be a success. So we're going to work together. We're going to make sure that if there are horrible people there, we want to get them out. I think he wants to get them out, maybe more than I do. So we'll work together. We discussed it at great length. Yes, please.
Yeah, two questions, if I may. One for you, Mr. President, from BBC in a second. But first of all, for the mayor-elect, you're both from different parts of the political spectrum. You're both populists, though. And I just wondered to what extent the president's campaign style, his techniques, his social media use inspired any part of your campaign.
Well, I actually told the president that, so much of the focus of our campaign has been on the cost of living crisis. And when we asked those New Yorkers who had voted for the president, when we saw an increase in his numbers in New York City, that came back to the same issue: cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. And they spoke about the cost of groceries, the cost of rent, the cost of Con Ed, the cost of childcare.
What are Con Ed? It's an energy company in New York. Ah, okay.
And too often politicians are looking to lecture to New Yorkers what they should care about as opposed to listen. And when we spoke to those voters who voted for President Trump, we heard them speak about cost of living. We focused on that same cost of living, and that's where I am really looking forward to delivering for New Yorkers in partnership with the president on the affordability agenda.
Seems solid if that is what he's actually doing. Yeah, I see that. Now he just has to deliver.
And if I may,
And I think we have to work a little bit. We talked about Con Edison. We have to work a little bit on getting the prices because, you know, we've gotten fuel prices way down, but it hasn't shown up in Con Edison. And we're going to have to talk to them. You know, if we're sending them fuel at a much lower price than it was a year ago, which is true, we have to get Con Edison to start lowering their rates.
Absolutely.
And if I may, last week you told me you were pushing ahead with your plans to sue BBC for up to $5 billion. You're going to speak to Prime Minister Starmer as well. Is there any progress or any update?
If any important person doesn't play by Mamdani's book, he will fail. Mamdani is this person on the left, right? The New York mayor? Mayor.
Well, we get along very well with the Prime Minister. We made a deal with UK. I like him. He's a fine person. And, you know, I think they have some big energy problems. You know, they've got windmills all over the place. They're going to have to start using other methods because their energy is out of control.
I wonder, you know what would be kind of funny? If New York gets rid of tariffs. Just New York, nothing else, just New York. Then the cost of living would sink, probably.
Talking about in the UK, it's out of control. And he's got that problem. He's got a big immigration problem, as you know, and he's got a big energy problem. And
immigration is not a problem unless you make it one.
We talk about it. He's a good man. Prime Minister's a good man.
You had a chance to speak this week.
I haven't spoken this week.
Have you spoken to President Zelensky?
They can't say it. We've spoken to President Zelensky.
I've spoken with their people. We have a plan. It's horrible what's happening. It's a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I was president, and it's a shame. And
it would have never happened if I will predict it. God, how can you be... Those if statements, if I were president back then, this would have never happened. They are useless. They are hot air. You will say that 3 more times. No, ma. No. Why? Mamdani, please just slap him and he stops repeating. The plate is stuck.
I thought they should have acted quicker, but it's a cold winter and a lot of the, you talk about utilities, but a lot of the big energy producing plants have been under attack, to put it mildly, to put it nicely. Yeah, we have a way of getting peace, or we think we have a way of getting peace. He's going to have to approve it. Just so sad, so many people. You know, last month they lost 25,000 soldiers. This is something, we haven't seen anything like this since the Second World War. And they're averaging 6,000 or 7,000 a week between the two of them, dead soldiers. And it goes on and on. And I think they're getting reasonably close, but I don't want to predict. I would have said that would have been one of my early ones. I did 8.
So, okay. I think it is really bad losing like 7,000 people a week. But is this even close to the Second World War?
So many people. You know, last month they lost 25,000 soldiers. This is something, we haven't seen anything like this since the Second World War. And they're averaging 6,000 or 7,000 a week between.
During World War II, an estimated 32 to 38,000 people died every single day. World War II was worse, but nothing as after was worse. Yeah, this is really bad. 7,000 a day is still really bad, but comparing 7,000 a day with 30,000 a day, is a week, which is 1,000 per day.
The two of them, dead soldiers, and it goes on and on. And I think they're getting reasonably close, but I don't want to predict. I would have said that would have been one of my early ones. I did 8 peace deals of countries, including in India, Pakistan. You could even go, in fact, they're coming here in a week or two, go to the Congo and Rwanda. That was 10 million people dead. and we worked something out on that. But so many, and the one I thought would have been, for me, because I have a very good relationship with President Putin, I thought that would have been maybe quicker. But it does take two to tango. And now you just see all the death. And, you know, it doesn't affect us other than the fact that we don't want to see all those people that really is on the other side of the ocean. It's a war that should have never happened. It did happen. I blame the person also sitting.
It did happen. He does the same grammatic mistake that I do. It did happen.
Blame the person also sitting right behind this desk. This is a war that should have never happened, and it wouldn't have happened if I were president. But
can you don't stay? Or Trump with and if statements. It's crazy.
We're trying to save a lot of lives. They're losing 25. Think of that, 25,000 lives over the last short period of time. That's Ukrainian and Russian, and it's a shame.
What happens if I want to ask the mayor-elect about a House resolution just passed overwhelmingly to condemn socialism, including with 86 Democrats, all of House Dem leadership, and the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, despite his endorsement of you. What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you, I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing...
Condemn socialism.
I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
And I want to clarify your answer to Stephen Nelson. He asked about your comment calling the president a fascist. And your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay.
Wait. I wait. Is she trying to frame Trump as the fascist?
Your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay.
I've spoken about Trump intervenes immediately. Trump doesn't want him to talk about Trump being a fascist.
You can just say yes. Okay. That's easy.
Trump himself says yes. Yeah, I'm a fascist. Isn't that... Oh God. She wants to make drama. Yeah, Trump just takes it. Trump just says, yeah, I'm a fascist. Just say yes.
A fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes. Okay. That's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
And Mr. President, I wanted to ask you also about this Ukraine plan.
Yeah.
President Zelensky said today that his country would risk either giving up a partner or giving up its dignity. There's been criticism that this deal...
You mean he doesn't like it?
It's unclear. He was sort of pretending...
She's really trying to stir some drama up here. Those are not really questions on things they might do. These are questions about opinions.
He'll have to like it, and if he doesn't like it, then, you know, they should just keep fighting, I guess, you know.
The suggestion that he made, though, was that if he doesn't accept it, that the U.S. would pull back its support for Ukraine. Is that
Well, at some point, he's going to have to accept something, you know. He hasn't accepted. You remember right in the Oval Office not so long ago, I said, you don't have the cards. Don't forget, I inherited this war. I would have never, this war never would have happened. I inherited this war. And I thought he should have made a deal a year ago, 2 years ago. The ultimate deal would have been if it never started. That would have been the good deal. That could have been done too if you had the right president, but you didn't have the right president.
Mr. President, cost of living is something that you and Mr. Mamdani seem to agree on.
Right.
Democrats have run New York City for a long time, Mr. Mamdani. Do you see Democrat policy specifically as being a problem? And I'd like that be a question that both of you can answer.
I mean, he definitely doesn't see that. He is a democratic socialist, right?
Look, I think that there are many things in our city where we have to own the responsibility of it, things that existed long before the president was the president. And those are also part of the message of our campaign was to take on a broken politics of the past. And I ran against a number of candidates who represented different versions of that past. And what we found time and again is that working people were left behind in the politics of our city. And what we're looking to do is put those people right back at the heart of our politics so that we don't have a situation where we're in the wealthiest city in the history of the world, and yet 1 in 5 can't even afford $2.90 for a Metro card.
Okay. Okay. Maybe make Metro cards easier to obtain like $1 instead.
Mr. Mamdani.
You know, we had some interesting conversation, and some of his ideas really are the same ideas that I have. But a big thing on cost, you know, the new word is affordability. Another word is just groceries. You know, it's sort of an old-fashioned word, but it's very accurate. And they're coming down high. They were, you know, we had, both of us, we had the highest inflation in the history of our country the last 4 years.
Is it also the greatest inflation?
Under the Biden administration, and we've got inflation down now to a normal number. It's going to go even a little bit lower than that. Katie, do you have something in a bit?
Wait, did he even answer the question?
Word is affordability.
Same affordability and groceries.
It's sort of an old-fashioned
Okay.
word, but it's very accurate. And they're coming down high. They were, you know, we had, both of us, we had the highest inflation in the history of our country the last 4 years under the Biden administration. And we've got inflation down now to a normal number. It's going to go even a little bit lower than that. Katie, do you have something in a bit?
Wait, Trump is blaming that to inflation? Okay, Trump just said, okay, we have the same ideas, but inflation is bad.
Mr. Mamdani often talks about New York City being covered by international law, that they will follow international law. Doesn't often talk about the U.S. Constitution. What is your response to that?
Well, I don't know what you're referring to in terms of it could be covered by international law, local law. It's covered by a lot of laws, but it's covered by U.S. law. Are you referring to anything in particular?
He just says that they're a city that endorses and enforces international law.
International law should be enforced by every city? But she talks about New York specifically. Of course New York needs to enforce and endorse international law, no? Well, but they have to, that they should, right? They are not part of the international court. Oh, that's okay. I see.
Is that at odds with?
No, I don't know. Would you want to respond?
Yeah, I think what I've shared with the president is our desire to not only follow the laws of our own city, laws that protect New Yorkers, but also a desire for consistency in our politics across the board. And that's something that we've talked about and something that I know many New Yorkers want.
So you work with ICE? We work with ICE?
We discussed ICE and New York City, and I spoke about how the laws that we have in New York City allow for New York City government to speak to the federal administration for about 170 serious crimes. The concerns that many New Yorkers have are around the enforcement of immigration laws on New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, and most recently we're talking about a mother and her 2 children, how this has very little to do with what that is.
Mr. Mamdani.
What we did is we discussed crime. More than ICE per se, we discussed crime.
This is the police of the government, basically. I see.
And he doesn't want to see crime, and I don't want to see crime. And I have very little doubt that we're not going to get along on that issue. He wants to, and he said some things that were very interesting as to housing construction. And he wants to see houses go up. He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, etc. And you know, we actually.
Yeah. Okay. How are you supposed, as the ICE or police or whatever, how are you supposed to shoot down houses if there are no houses? So build more houses, of course, so we can shoot them down, right?
He wants to see houses go up. He wants to see a lot of houses created, a lot of apartments built, etc. And you know, we actually people would be shocked, but I want to see the same thing.
Mr. Mamdani, anti-Israel protesters.
Jack?
Mr. President, I want to know one of the policies as well that Mayor-elect Mamdani talked a number of times about on the campaign was shifting the tax burden for property taxes from what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech, you didn't mention
Oh,
anything about America or Christians or white people in general. And so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
Does anyone want to plan to put more taxes on a specific group of people? Not based on where they work, but based on what they are? Anyone ever said that?
You didn't mention what he called minority communities to white-based communities and putting more taxes on white people. I also noticed that in your acceptance speech, you didn't mention anything about America or Christians or white people in general. And so I didn't know if that was one of the policies that you guys had spoken about.
We focused on
Is it like the rich white people don't pay enough while the poor die? Something in that direction. Ah, okay. So this is a setting on the false focus for the reporter. I see. So the reporter tried to frame it in a different way. Okay.
affordability. We focused on the cost of living crisis. What I will say is that I am very much interested in property tax reform because what we see right now in New York City is a system that is so inequitable that it can't even stand up in court. And the president and I spoke about the importance of not only building more housing, but also making sure that regulation of housing is something that is manageable to actually get through and not the cause of yet another weight that we see in our city.
Get rid of those monopoly lawn thingies. Huge companies who have like dozens or even hundreds of apartments and take the rent of hundreds or thousands of apartments. Get rid of them. Property tax, and maybe even take just a few of those apartments for the city, so the city can rent them to people for actually an affordable price instead of those inflated prices because of capitalism shit.
Continuing this idea of race-based property taxes.
No, to be very clear,
That's what you said.
no, the use of the term was a description of neighborhoods, not a description of intent.
So you intend to tax the whiter neighborhoods more?
No, we intend to create a fair property tax system because we want a New York City that is not only fair and equitable, but also one that every New Yorker can afford.
So the reporter really tries to make this a racist statement here.
Off or just make it a little bit difficult or not give as much. We want to see, I use the term, we don't want good money going after bad. We don't want that to happen. I don't think that's going to happen.
Then you cover the whole liberal progressive spectrum from middle to green to left parties and their voters. What is green? Is green left middle? Middle left?
I did say that, subject to what policies are being set. We had a meeting today that actually surprised me. He wants to see no crime. He wants to see housing being built. He wants to see rents coming down, all things that I agree with.
Who wouldn't agree with that? Oh my God.
Now, we may disagree how we get there, the rent coming down. I think one of the things I really gleaned very much today, he'd like to see him come down, ideally, by building a lot of additional housing.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate way. He agrees with that, and so do I. But if I read the newspapers and the stories, I don't hear that. But I heard him say it today, and I think that's a very positive step.
I think Trump is in his own little news bubble. Katie someone is the most popular politician in the German party right now, so she doesn't know what socialism is. Because she said the important means of production should... What? She said abolish capitalism. Yeah, okay. Abolish capitalism, but keep everything private. That's not contradiction at all. No. You just don't get it. We just don't get it. So, me neither. What? Maybe she's in a dreamland. That's also where right-wingers and communists agree that progressive socialism is bullshit. I don't exactly know why that makes right-wingers and communists agree. Or how. We tax the rich and build public housing and raise Bürgergeld by 10%. We tax the rich. Wait a second. When we are socialists, we don't need to tax the rich. Because everything's public anyway. But making means of production public? Is this not socialism? Is this communism then? They claim the world socialism for just more leftist social democracy. They want to reframe what they mean with that. Me vote Greens because I don't like the right-wingers and climate change bad. Yeah, that's that's basically what I said back then. Yeah, I was an uninformed prey to propaganda. Kind of on the left-wing side.
I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help, because I want New York City to be great. Look, I love New York City. It's where I come from. I spent a lot of years there. Now I'm right here. We took a big setback with the mayor that we had, Dave de Blasio. I thought it was a tremendous setback for the city. I think this mayor can do some things that are going to be really great.
Mr. President,
I'm surprised that Trump is talking with a little respect. You from a year ago, basically. I didn't even know what socialism means. I just connected it to in my head with democracy, because well, democracy is good, I live in it. Socialism, everyone says we live in a socialism, so that should be good too. Now I know a little better. Now I'm a little more informed than a year ago.
Okay, how about you? Go ahead, please.
you're a billionaire. You have a different address nowadays than you used to. But you used to call New York City home. Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mamdani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would. Especially after the meeting. Absolutely.
What makes you comfortable?
We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. I think I want him to do a great job. And we'll help him do a great job. You know, he may have different views, but in many ways, you know, we were discussing when Bernie Sanders was out of the race, I picked up a lot of his votes, and people had no idea, because he was strong on not getting ripped off in trade and lots of the things that I've practiced and been very successful on. Tariffs, a lot of things. Bernie Sanders and I agreed on much more than people thought. And when he was put out of the race, I think
It's not actually communist, he also wants to keep capitalism. Okay. This is what Trump is saying right now. I hope that's wrong. But I cannot explain why Trump is talking of him so highly if that is not the case. Where I live, we call this Arschkriechen. I really wonder though if Mamdani is a real socialist behind the scenes. I hope. It could be that he is just five-braining that and just played nice to Trump, told him what he wants to hear, as long as there are no microphones and everything around here. But once Trump is gone, he's going the socialist route again. We still have that hope, right?
fairly, if you want to know the truth. Many of the Bernie Sanders voters voted for me. And I felt very comfortable, frankly, in seeing that and saying that. And, you know, it just turned out to be a statistical truth. But no, I feel very comfortable. I would feel very, very comfortable being in New York, and I think much more so after the meeting. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for you, but a very quick one for
Please.
the mayor. Why did you fly here? Aren't trains greener?
I'll use every form of transit, and I want to make sure that they're all affordable in New York City, and that's why making buses fast and free is a centerpiece of our campaign.
Did you?
There is a bus that
Well,
goes.
but I know, but it'd be fluid. That's a lot quicker.
I do like trains. I totally believe that. I hope he's smart enough, though.
You know, I mean, he's working very hard. For him to be, that's a very long drive. I'll stick up for you. You know, the plane takes.
Wait, did he say he wants to make bus rides free?
Making buses fast and free is a centerpiece of
Fast and free. Free is good.
The plane takes you 30 minutes and driving takes you a
And
long.
Mr. President, I was wondering if you could clear up.
That was one of the campaign's major lines. I would love free transportation. And I know that transportation in America is kind of garbage because everything is so far away from each other, from everything else. So not only because their architecture and stuff, and all their the houses are in one place, and then the grocery stuff is in one place, and the industry stuff is in another place. Everything is so hecking far apart. There are no walkable cities, big roads, nowhere you can go to by foot, whatever. Making buses free is a big step. People would use that. He needs to be very smart about that too.
Some confusion around a Washington Post report. There was this explosive report that the Coast Guard is no longer going to characterize swastikas and nooses as hate symbols.
Why would you not recognize them as hate anymore?
DHS called that a lie and fake news. Can you clear up?
I don't know anything about it. When was this written?
Yesterday.
Well, look, the Coast Guard's an incredible group of people. I know them very well. We just ordered a lot of new Coast Guard cutters. Beautiful, the most magnificent ship. They look like yachts with lots of guns on them.
Trump, just say swastika is still a hate symbol. It would be so easy.
I don't know. I haven't seen any report like that, but certainly we want them to remain a great force, and they are.
Okay.
And you did a piece in all the 9 months around the world. I would like to ask Mr. Mamdani, you've accused the U.S. government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers have of wanting their tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. And what we see right now is we're in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 school children being homeless in our city.
Wait, 100,000? How big is New York? New York City, population 8 million or 18 million? Yeah, something about that. 100,000 school children. What are the population of school children? Probably something like 10% of the population itself. 800,000. So every 8th children probably is homeless. Every 8th school children is homeless. That's, holy shit, that's a lot.
The desperate need not only for the following of human rights, but also the following through on the promises we've made New Yorkers. And I appreciated the meeting we had and the work that we can do.
Do you agree that President Trump did do a peace and work hard to make the peace? Because he worked hard to do the peace in the Middle East and everywhere. Do you agree with that?
I appreciate all efforts towards peace, and I shared with President Trump that when I spoke to Trump voters on Hillside Avenue, including one of whom was a pharmacist that spoke about how President Trump's father actually went to that pharmacy not too far from Jamaica Estates, that people were tired of seeing our tax dollars fund endless wars. And I also believe that we have to follow through on the international human rights. And I know that still today those are being violated, and that continues to be work that has to be done no matter where we're speaking of.
Mr. President.
He's talking smart. The reporters are really mean though. They want them to fight. Do you think you said something really mean against Trump, and do you still think that? And the other way around, you said something really mean about Mamdani. You still think that? Reporters are mean. It's like trying to make him call Trump a racist motherfucker in his face. He would deserve it. He would deserve it. Trump is a racist motherfucker, just saying.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you view the mayor-elect as the true leader of the Democrat Party? And do you think Leader Schumer and Leader Jeffries, have to follow his lead?
Well, look, I hope they have great leaders. This is a man that right now I think is focused in New York City. I really think he has a chance to do a great job. We're going to help him, but I really think he has a chance to do a great job. But I'll let you answer that. You consider yourself the leader of the Democrats. I think it's more appropriate for him.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City, and I keep my horizons firmly on New York City.
Yeah, I think Mamdani wants to stay on a good footing with Trump. It is not a good thing if they start fighting already. He's smart. He's smart. I can see that. I hope he is smart enough though to stay at his socialism way.
I appreciate the meeting with the president, which focused again on the 5 boroughs and whether New Yorkers could afford to live there.
By the way, being the mayor of New York City is a big deal.
Absolutely.
I always said, you know, one of the things I would love to be someday is the mayor of New York City. Being the mayor of New York, and especially now, because I think you're at really a turning point, one way or the other. It could go great, or it can go in a different direction. And I think you really have a chance to make it great. I appreciate what's happening.
Mr. President, you say you love New York City. Mr. Mamdani, does New York City love President Trump?
New York City loves a future that is affordable. And I can tell you that there were more New Yorkers who voted for President Trump in the most recent presidential election because of that focus on cost of living. And I'm looking forward to working together to deliver on that affordability agenda.
I got a lot of votes. One more. Go ahead. 1 or 2 more. Go ahead. I tell you, the press has eaten this thing up. You know, I've had a lot of meetings with the heads of major countries. Nobody cared. This meeting that you people have gone crazy. You know, outside you have hundreds of people waiting. This is just a small little group. For some reason, the press has found this to be a very interesting meeting.
Yeah, for some reason. I have no idea why Trump.
Biggest people in the world, they come over from countries nobody cares. But they did care about this meeting, and it was a great meeting. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, I was going to ask you exactly that. Why do you think there's so much more, so much excitement around this thing in some form?
Because I think he's different. All right? I think he's different, and that can be in a very positive way, but I think he's different than, your typical guy, runs, wins, becomes mayor maybe, and nothing exciting. Because he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. And he does need the help of the federal government to really succeed, and we're going to be helping him. But he's different than, your average candidate. Hey, he came out of nowhere. I said he has a great campaign manager standing over there. He came out of nowhere. What'd you start off at 1 or 2? And then I watched. I said, who is this guy? He was at 1, then he was at 3, then he was at 5, then he was at 9. Then he went up to 17. I said, that's going to be a little bit interesting, right? And then all of a sudden he wins a primary that nobody expected he was going to win. It's a great.
Dude, why is Trump buttering him up so much? What did they talk about in the meeting before?
A great tribute. I mean, it's an amazing thing that he did.
And I'll just add one thing to what the president said. Is one thing I also appreciated is in our meeting to appreciate a portrait of FDR and the incredible
FDR. Roosevelt? No. Appreciate the portrait of FDR and the incredible. Do they really mean Roosevelt? Like earlier president?
work that was done with the New Deal and also in thinking about what it can look like when the federal government and New York City government work together to deliver on affordability. It can be transformative.
We have a great portrait of FDR that I found in the vaults that was missing for years. I found it and I put it up. He's a Democrat, to the best of my knowledge. He's a Democrat. And when the mayor saw that portrait, he said, "Sir, do you mind if I have a picture taken by that portrait?" It's an amazing portrait. I hope the picture comes out good. But it's an amazing portrait in the cabinet room. So he's a big fan of the New Deal.
Roosevelt is a president who tried fighting the billionaire class a bit.
I guess, and of FDR. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said that you both spoke about crime.
Yeah.
There are many police officers set to come off the rolls at the end of this year in New York City. Are you going to allow those police to be replaced with police officers, actual cops? And are you going to require that that happens? Would there be some consequence?
Well, I hope it happens, but again, that's going to be ultimately the mayor's decision.
What's your answer?
Is that I look forward to delivering public safety with the NYPD, and I've said over the course of our campaign that we have the number of police officers today. They are the ones that's budgeted about 35,000 headcount. And I think the key thing is that we have to make it easier for police to focus on police work, not ask them to respond to 200,000 mental health calls a year.
So is that a reduction from what you're at right now? Are you committing to maintaining the same level? cops
I've committed over the course of the campaign to maintain the 35,000. That's the headcount that we had through the
and
campaign.
not replace them with caseworkers, social workers.
No, I've said that's the headcount that we want. What we need to do is make sure they can focus on serious crime.
And he just retained a great police commissioner, I believe, right?
Yes, yes, we did, Commissioner Fish.
If the newspapers are correct.
That one they're correct about.
He retained, I think, somebody that is a good friend of some of the people
So-
in my family.
Police workers do like mental health issue stuff? Wait,
Asked them to respond to 200,000 mental health calls a year.
what? Police workers in America or New York do mental health stuff? How do police workers do their mental health stuff? They are not even are they instructed on how to deal with that?
From
No.
what you're at right now, are you committing to
You're not informed on
maintaining
that.
the same
That
level
okay.
of cops
I've committed over the course of the campaign to
Me
maintain the
neither.
35,000. That's the headcount that we had through the
and
campaign.
not replace them with caseworkers, social workers?
No, I've said that's the headcount that we want. What we need to do is make sure they can focus on serious crime.
And he just retained a great police commissioner, I believe, right?
Yes?
Yeah,
yes, we
I
did,
think it's
Commissioner
good to separate
newspapers are correct.
mental
That one they're
health
correct about.
from the police.
He retained, I think, somebody that
Makes
is a
police's work easier
good friend
and
of some of the people in my family, of Ivanka, and
Stuff.
they say she's really good, really competent, and he just retained her, so that's a good sign.
Mr. President, if I
Are there
may,
still topics that you see that you're disagreeing on in the future? And do you think you'll have more meetings like this?
There will be topics that we disagree on. I think we'll probably come to a conclusion, and ultimately, he'll convince me, or I'll convince him. You know, it's for the good of New York. Ultimately, it's for the good of New York. I don't care about affiliations or parties or anything else. I want to see if this city could be unbelievable. If he could be a spectacular success, I'd be very happy.
Do you think you guys will meet more in the future too?
Excuse me?
Do you think you'll meet again in the future, throughout the administration?
I think we will. I think we will. I hope we do. I enjoyed the meeting. We had a great meeting. Please.
Mr. President, Republican Elise Stefanik has campaigned multiple times by calling Zohran Mamdani a jihadist. Do you think you're standing next to a jihadist right now in the Oval Office?
No, I
what the heck is a jihadist now?
don't know, but she's out there campaigning, and you know, you say things sometimes in a campaign.
Isn't that sort of
She's a very capable person,
isn't
but
that a kind of label?
you really have to ask her about that. But I don't particularly.
Ah.
I think I met with I met with a man who's a very rational person. I met with a man who really wants to see New York be great again, and I can say again, because New York was great. You know, when I came down to Washington initially, the city was so hot. It was doing great. We were having some telltale signs of problems. We had a mayor that was not doing a great job, but still, it was moving along. And it went bad. It really went, pretty bad. And I think it's been at lower points, but it went pretty bad. I think he can bring it back. Now, the question is, will he bring it back all the way? Will he bring it back greater than ever before, which is, I guarantee, that's his wish. I think he wants to make it greater than ever before. And if he can, we'll be out there cheering. I'll be cheering for him. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Okay. That was a long interview. A really long interview. I'm surprised that Trump is kinda supportive of this new mayor. I hope this new mayor will not give in capitalism. When reading the manifesto of communism. Reforming capitalism, to be fair, doesn't work. I know. Unfortunately. I don't think there is a way to put enough taxes on rich people that does not also hit down on other people. Also, taxes cannot be the solution of everything. The correct solution is correct payment of the workers. If you pay the workers a fair price, I think that is a big thing. Taxing the rich is just as dumb. It's a step. The issue is not rich people exist. The issue is rich people being able to exist. Exactly, yeah. But Imagine you pay 50% taxes of whatever you own. 50% each year. As soon as you own like more than $1 million or something. Hypothesis, I take all saved money of everyone in the country and give it everyone the equal amount. This is the extremist from the tax the rich. What will happen? Poor people have a normal amount of money. The rich people will have a no. How much money would that be per person? A few thousand? A few $1,000? The problem is the rich people will still have exactly the means of production. That's the word kind of that I've searched for. If you tax the property of the means of production from the rich people, you know, someone owns a company. If you can tax the ownership of this company, if everyone was double as rich, the rich with the means of production will double the price. Maybe, I mean, it's possible. I never thought about that. You think they'd sell for the same price? Nope. Nope. That depends. Depends. If that tax that hypothetical tax that we talked about applies on a regular basis, like once a year or something, then maybe they'd sell it for the same price because they know, okay, if I sell it for more or less, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the year, I will still have this amount of money, like everyone else. In this hypothetical sense, then I don't think the price would change a lot. Maybe it would, then capitalism wouldn't work. Cause no profit. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But we already have the machinery and everything, so the means of production are already here. Maybe those people would sell their company to the state or something, and then they don't have to care about we need socialism. Yep. That's what kind of my train of thought was going into this direction right now. Public means of production, indeed. In this hypothetical, it seems so doable, and also it seems so far at the same time in some sense. That's the issue we have for now. Yep, indeed. The thing is, I'm more scared and stuck in their opinion than right-wingers when it comes to that. Oh, we can just put a 2% tax on the rich and everything will be awesome. That's not gonna happen. First of all, that's not gonna happen. Second of all, that's not gonna solve everything. I think it is a step into it would help. It wouldn't solve things. But would it help long term? I don't know. 2% definitely is not enough if we really want change.